Welcome to Recycled Idaho, where two recycling industry veterans, Brett Eckhart and Nick Snyder, explore Idaho businesses and organizations that are putting in the work to keep Idaho environmentally and economically viable at the same time. Take a listen to how these entrepreneurs, business owners, and operators are making things happen in the great state of Idaho.
In this podcast, Nick and I sit down with Mark Imel from Premier Scrap Processing based out of Indiana. I met Mark on LinkedIn. His company's been cutting scrap in our yards over here in Idaho for the last few months. He's a class act, and it was great to sit down and talk to him. Take a listen from our new podcast studio.
All right, welcome everybody. We're here with another episode of Recycled Idaho. Do you want to introduce our guest, Brett?
I'd love to. This is Mark Imel, Premier Scrap Processing. Mark and I met on LinkedIn, of all places. Imagine that.
I know, right?
Mark reached out to me, or I reached out to him. Either way, we made the connection, started talking, and at the time we had a need for some big iron that needed cutted, needed torched, cut down, and got a hold of Mark. We talked. He flew out. Mark and another guy named Mark Castle, I believe.
Yep.
And took a look at the pile and said, "Yeah, let's see what we can do." So Mark's coming down, check on the progress, and I figured might as well get him in the podcast room. So, Mark, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. We appreciate it. We appreciate the work, the opportunity. You know, we never turn down at least a chance to look at something. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny. That's how we hooked up on LinkedIn, you know?
Yeah.
I never really used it. I just saw you. I was like, man, I'm going to reach out to this guy and see what happens. And sure enough, here we are.
There's a ton
5 months later or something like that.
A ton of value that you can get out of LinkedIn. I mean, I use it a lot because I've had success with it. And success doesn't, finding business opportunity, you know, and that, whether that's people to help process material, people to find consumables from, other people to consume our products that we're producing, whatever. It's been a good platform for us, and so it's pretty awesome to have you on the podcast.
Well, again, thanks. And, it's something we're starting to look at is how to use LinkedIn a little more for us because, Facebook really doesn't fit us as much. And same with like the Google, people aren't out there Google searching torch cutters usually.
Well, yeah. So. Before this, I went and found you. Your company's on there. So you got that. And like Brett said, it's just a valuable tool. So many good people and so many good businesses out there. And just a way that we, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought we'd be connecting with so many different great people that way. So it's nice to have you here. Where are you guys out of?
We're out of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
The Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got 7 crews out working across the Midwest and 1 crew out here. We like to expand our presence out here on the West. See what can happen.
How big are your crews?
Anywhere from 2 to 4 guys.
Okay.
And then we could, depending on the site, it's usually site specific. You get much more than 4, it gets a little crowded.
You need a lot of space.
A lot of real estate
to cut. To have 4 guys cutting.
Yeah. I got one project right now where we're going to bump it up to 5s just because the incoming is so heavy right now that we got to do something. And they got the space, but it's gonna be tight.
Yeah, how big of an oxygen tank is on a site with 5 guys cutting like that full time?
We've got the biggest tank we got is 1,500 gallon.
Okay, it's a good size.
It's a good size tank.
Well,
is it an upright tank or
upright?
Okay,
upright.
Those seem to be the best. More people I've talked to, they seem to prefer those upright tanks for whatever reason.
I don't know why they take up less real estate, and it seems like as they get lower, as the volume goes down in the tank, it's less.
That makes sense.
Less space in the bottom, so you maintain your pressure better.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Brett knows a lot more about your company than I do, but what do you guys do?
We do on-site scrap metal processing. Okay. We do torching. We can do some saw cutting if we had to. We also have the capabilities we could do shearing, and that's one of the things we like to grow into is to be able to provide more of those type services.
Yeah.
Even some scrap management. Hey, let us come in. We'll take over this area of your yard, and we'll manage the processing part for you.
Cool. It's always good. I mean, you guys have done us a solid job, and that's why, I mean, I was willing and wanted to get you on the podcast. I mean, your crew that you've sent out, the guys you've sent out have been great. I have no complaints about that whatsoever. So I'm always looking to, kind of boost people's business that are doing a good job. And, I just, that was the biggest thing I wanted to say. We appreciate your guys' crew and kind of their knowledge on just cutting and doing their job.
I'm pretty fortunate. All the guys that I have a lot of experience. I have somebody as young as 30 years old that's got 10, 15 years experience in this industry. And I got a guy that cuts for me at 74 years old, so he's got 40-some years cutting.
Yeah.
So we've got a vast majority of knowledge. Some of the things we pride ourselves in is our safety, our quality of our work,
Yep.
doing what we say we're going to do. We're big, like I said, big into the safety. All our guys go through pre-employment physicals, hearing test, blood test, drug test, respirator fit. Do the same thing annually. We do random drug screens. We don't tolerate any of that. We're a second chance employer as well. So that's one of the real big pushes of not, wanting any drug use is don't want to tempt those guys. They're trying to get their lives back together.
That's one thing that we see like in our industry a lot because we are pretty labor intense. I mean, you're running equipment, you're handling scrap, and whether it's 0 outside or 100, like it's a pretty labor intense job, and that doesn't fit everybody's criteria of what they want to do for a living.
No.
But there's a certain sect of people that they're looking just for a chance. I mean, we here at the Boise facility, the way we really built this facility out is, we're about 10 miles from the Boise Penitentiary. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when we were trying to find people, we actually reached out to the penitentiary, and they were giving us applicants and people that had the potential for work release. So then we would run them through, pre-screen them, and then we had the van dropping them off, every morning, 7:45, picking them up at 5 o'clock every day. And that was kind of how we kind of built into this facility, was being a second chance type employer. And I think that our industry sees a lot of that.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, let's face it, most people really don't care what they hire. So that draws a lot of that to us. And a lot of people, there's a lot of places that just won't give somebody a second chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but everybody deserves a second chance.
I agree with that.
And the proof's in the pudding. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you a chance. I've always said, like, I have no problem giving you a chance.
Yeah.
But you got to hold up your end of the bargain.
Yeah, I've had good luck and had bad luck, and that's
with any employee, though.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah,
way you
there's
hire
just
them.
no
It doesn't matter.
Second
Comes
chance,
from
first
them.
chance,
Yep.
doesn't matter, yeah.
So, where are all your employees? Are they all throughout the nation, or are they all from Indiana?
I have employees from Virginia, from Alabama, Oklahoma. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So I know that you
Maybe
don't
just
just
Indiana employees as well.
I know you don't just get into the torch cutting business just because you're looking for a hobby. Like, that's something you have to have some familiarity.
Yeah, watch some YouTube videos and say,
Yeah.
I can do that. Right?
I know that you have to have some background in the scrap business, right? So why don't you give us just a little bit of your history in the scrap recycling business and kind of how you found your niche there at Premier?
Like you, Brett, I grew up in the industry as a kid from, way tall, little to now, it's still it's the same. It's in your blood. It's in your blood. Probably somewhere in my early 20s, I ventured away from my father and grandfather's business and went to work for another company, wanted to try something different, same industry, trying to help them get their ISO program going. And via that, I ended up in Indianapolis, had a business partner there. Things soured, but I decided to finish school. And I was working for somebody else, but just kept getting drawn back, getting drawn back. And how we got the torching going, I was visiting a buddy of mine who has this little scrap yard there in Indianapolis, watching his guys cut. And I said, dude, they're awful.
Yeah.
Let me put you a quote together. And a couple weeks later, we were there. That was a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So a year and a half ago, we started with 2 guys just on a whim and in my desire to get going. And here we are now, with 15 guys or so and 7 locations, and we're just growing.
It's funny how you say you tried to get out and it just kept pulling you back in.
I know, right?
'Cause, like, I've been in the scrap industry for 10 years, and I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. And I hear that from so many other scrap guys. Like, once it gets in your blood, it's hard to break loose. I mean, Brett's going to start another podcast highlighting just scrap guys, and that's going to be exciting too.
Well, just how the scrap industry can change your life, like for the positive, and maybe you never thought you'd end up in the scrap business, but you just somehow happenstance your way into it, and now
that's how I got.
You love it, or you're like me or you, and you don't know any
into
different.
it.
Like I don't know any. Like this is what I know. This is what I love. This is kind of where I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't. My wife's asked me, said, "What would you do if you didn't, if you weren't in the scrap?" I'd go find another scrap company to work for. This is what I do. It's what I know. It's what I'm passionate about.
That's what I would end up doing, if it wasn't working for myself.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I get around the guys cutting and stuff, and get over there, just get a good whiff of that. Just like, God, that smells great.
Yeah.
And today when I was standing over in Codwell, watching you guys work, get a whiff of that scrap. It's like,
I'm back in my back.
That smells good, man. That's right. It's
just like home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a lot of familiar smells and sounds, and it really excites you.
Just the heartbeat of the scrapyard.
Yeah.
It's just, I love it too. Like going to different ones, not just United Metal. It's like I love looking how other companies are doing it. It's just like I got hired on when I was 27. I didn't realize how big this industry was. I knew you could like recycle pop cans, like the general public. Then when Brett gave me a job, I just it's like my eyes open. I'm like, holy smokes! There's this much scrap in Caldwell.
Yeah. There's a lot out there. Every business generates something.
Well,
it's got to go somewhere.
It shows like there's enough out there to start a company like yours, where you're out there cutting to help yards like us out, or all throughout the nation. I think like it's such a cool idea.
Yeah, well, for us, and at least for me, it was like owning scrap. I've done that before, and still have a small company that has a couple accounts, and we veered away from that. It's like I like not owning scrap. I like processing, and I mean there is some risk to it for me, but it doesn't seem as a bigger risk.
Yeah, I mean it's more of an HR. As much as bringing the knowledge, bringing the people in that know how to do that, and they have experience cutting. That's one thing, but I mean, when you're managing people, like in your situation where you're burning big iron, you have heavy equipment, there's a certain level of risk that comes along with just that portion of the job.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody has their own comfort level as far as what they're more comfortable. Some people are more comfortable on the financial side of the risk equation, like willing to buy the tons, sit on the tons, and try and market them, versus say like an individual like yourself might be more comfortable with the HR risk, the safety risk of the industry, and so it's kind of fitting how everybody just kind of falls into their niche.
Yeah, and then doing this pressing, it kind of gets us in these yards. We get to see some different things, but yet we're getting a taste of it. Yet we're kind of just on the outside, just enough to.
But you also, I mean, the good thing about like you and your guys. I mean, I was the two guys that have been in and cutting in our Caldwell yard. You can just tell by how they process that material. I mean, I've been around scrap yards my whole life. I've cut a fair amount of iron myself with a torch, and that's, to be honest, like probably one of my favorite jobs in a scrap yard. Just because you can really physically see how much you got done that day.
Yeah.
But you can tell those guys know how to cut iron. Like, you didn't hire them last week off the street and just said, hey, here's a torch, here's how you light it, go ahead and get to work. I mean, they've cut some iron.
Yeah. It's a skill set.
It is.
I mean, I've tried to bring new people in that have never cut before, and they can't get it. Or you get to bring people in, oh yeah, I've cut in the shop. Well, they were in a little 2-foot shop torch. They can't get it.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone that you've brought up and trained? They've all had the experience?
They've all had the experience. I got one guy that's new, but one of his friends who works for me trained him.
Okay.
He's just a fabulous cutter. but he just caught on.
Yeah.
Some people can pick
Well, it's like a machinist. Some guys figure that out and they find that niche and they become a great machinist without any experience.
Same, athlete, whatever. You just have skills like that.
Yeah.
So, and in our experience, like I said, if you don't bring somebody in that's done it, we've tried, it just doesn't work.
So, what's the future hold for Premier Scrap Processing? What do you envision? I mean,
we want to continue to grow our presence, like I said, to the west and to the east. We want to continue to spread out. We would like to get hooked up with some demolition companies. We're not doing their demo work, but maybe doing some on-site stuff for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd like to really expand into the yard management processing. And it's not so much running a facility, but the yard.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the organization. We're managing the crane operators and the processing and production.
Gotcha.
We'd like to be able to do that or offer that as a service anyways.
Mm-hmm. Just as one more kind of tool in the tool belt.
Yeah. I mean, we have Mark Castle, our operations manager. He's 32, 33 years old. He's got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to operations.
And a super good guy. I really
super
like
good
Mark.
guy.
Yeah.
He can see the next 5 steps when he's managing a facility or managing an operation. He just knows how to set it up. So it'd be ideal for him to do that. And that's where we like to kind of take things.
Nice.
Do you guys see any new trends? You guys being nationwide, do you see any new trends in yards or new needs or even new types of equipment to help get certain jobs done out there? Or is it all still kind of it's the same as it's always been?
It's just pretty much the same as always been.
Okay.
It just gets technologically better.
Yeah.
And I was a kid, we were running a friction cable crane with no
Yeah.
window sitting on a metal seat, Now you
So-
sit in an excavator just with 2 little joysticks, air conditioned heat, cameras all around, and
Gotcha.
Yeah.
radios and all that
Oh,
fancy
yeah.
stuff,
Oh, yeah. That's it.
That's where it's I think that's
The
where it's
equipment
changed.
is
Equipment
better.
has changed.
Okay.
And it's definitely gotten more, so much more expensive. But
Yeah.
again, that's,
But you can get so much more volume out.
it's so
Yeah.
much more productive.
Yeah.
We even have tried different torches. We can go on a cheaper end torch, but it just doesn't have the output or seem to meet the needs that we want. We've tried different things, and we know what we want and how we want them built and everything, and we're able to get that done.
Yeah. Well, and when you and I talked before, when we set up the yard in Caldwell was, what size oxygen tank you need, how much propane you're going to need, and just all that. There's so many pieces to that puzzle, that makes sense. But I mean, the biggest thing that I wanted, just to get out of this was just, you guys run a legit shop. You guys are good at what you do, and I'm always trying to help promote people that are good at what they do, man. In this industry, I don't think we do a good enough job of supporting each other. When you run into somebody, I think I'm above. The secret is out, right? I mean, this is how we process our material. This is who we use. This is who we sell scrap to. Because I want to help promote the legit people, man, that are doing everybody, a good job. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to sit down with you is just say, hey, if you guys run into something, I know from experience that you guys have done us a good job. So, give them a call.
Well, I appreciate it. We really do appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we know the stigma our industry has still.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to do these.
Yeah,
Say, hey, not everybody out there is trying to fuck you.
there's some really sophisticated
legit
operations.
businesses out there that are trying to do it the right way. And when your guys showed up and they did it the right way, and they did what they said they were going to do. You're good in my book. And so
That's what we do. We do what we're going to say we're going to do, and if not, then let's figure out what we did wrong or where we went wrong in our communication.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to hey, it's the customer first, and we'll customize our operation to how we have to. And
if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
you can reach me on my cell phone 317-242-9502 or mimel@premiersp.us. Or look me up on LinkedIn.
Awesome, man.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
Great
you,
to
man.
meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Recycled Idaho. And as we continue the journey across this great state, we look forward to bringing you more stories of people and organizations putting in the work to do the right thing.